that's why it's really important to have a plan and understand what your goals are.
In fact, my camel out there is suffering right now with a broken back.
So I actually found Pepe when it was only a couple of hours old, and I'm like, oh, this is a funny meme.
Oh my god.
Yo! Who is this Degen?
The old man is swing trading over years at a time. And it's like, that's where the real money is made.
The answer is a permanent loss. With single-sided staking, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss.
Really, at the end of the day, it's just a matter of a macro market. It's just what happens.
If you're aware, if you're disciplined, you can hone that into further financial growth.
Financial freedom, so we can actually live life and not have to be constantly living paycheck to paycheck. I mean, that's the ultimate goal, more or less, right?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Degen Roundtable Sunday Show edition. We have an excellent show planned for you here today, and we're going to start it off with good old inverse Kramer law. We're going to talk about some charts. We're going to talk about some community stuff for Hexkins, and we even have potentially Operation Choke Point and Ripple news at the end. We got a lot to get to today. I am your host, Zenith. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ZenithDI, but I am joined by my excellent co-host this evening, Mr. Will Stevenson. How you doing, buddy?
Dude, life is good, man. I just crossed into Texas not too long ago, so I'm like about to mosey my way on back to Dallas, back in the saddle, back in the zone, away from the snow. It's like warm weather out here. I had to take off all my warming layers and stuff. But life is good, man. I've just been driving and working the past several days, and it's been a great time. I'm ready to get into it though. There's some cool headlines and some fun stuff for us to talk about. So I'm doing great. Life is excellent. Brendan Broski, how about you, bro? What's new and exciting with you?
I am good, man. Super excited to be on again, a Sunday show, flagship show of the Degen Roundtable. And Will Zenith, I am excited to chop it up with you fellas tonight. Look, there's been a lot of ups and downs in crypto the last couple of weeks, and I feel people's fear. And I'm here to tell you, this is a bull market, baby. Don't be afraid. Not too afraid.
That is true. We also have the greed and fear index to talk about at a certain point. I had some thoughts on that one. A bit of a bummer that Jay will not be with us tonight, so I will be handling TA myself, but please feel free to chime in with whatever you got. And speaking of chiming in, we want to give a quick shout out to everybody out there at home. Will, do you have the thing? He has the thing, but he's muted.
Yes, I was like, oh shit, I gotta find the button on my thing. All right, it's time for motherfucking chat shoutouts. I don't know how to put it, and also I'm driving right now, so I don't know if you guys can see it.
Good there.
But
don't worry about it too much.
Chat shoutout time, baby. Take it away,
animal. You. Alrighty, first Degen of the night. None other than Moonmont. He says, let's go 2025. That's right. Talking about what some of the venture capitalists are looking forward to in 2025 and how it compares to previous investment years. That is coming up shortly. After that, we have longtime friend of the channel and just a homie. We got Moonpilled Rational Optics. He says, Degens assemble. Absolutely. And last but not least, we got Marcus72 saying, what up all? Good to see you, my man. Welcome to the show, baby. All right. Well, with that being said, let's just get right into this, shall we? First off, we have everyone's favorite. Some call him an oracle, or inverse oracle, if you will. So, Mrs. Producer, if you do not mind, I have something for all the folks at home. That's right. Straight off of the Squawk Box, we have none other than Jim Cramer himself. Let me know if you can hear it.
96. Do you think it's cooled off enough?
No, I think
I can hear it, but I do not see it on the screen. Here we go. So, what does Jim Cramer have to say today?
Do you think it's cooled off enough?
No, I think it can go down a little more. 90 is the next. I think 90,000 is the next level.
Do you think it's cooled off enough?
One more time.
No, I think it can go down a little more. 90 is the next. I think 90,000 is the next level.
There you go. Jim Cramer saying he thinks it's going to drop to $90,000. So you can imagine what that
only,
means.
Baby.
That means Nancy Pelosi must have just bought some too.
Yeah, good chance. So thanks, Jim. Really appreciate this one. Note, this one was posted yesterday, January 4th. Today is the 5th. So we'll be looking into how he's doing on that prediction. And we also have another prediction from someone we're all pretty familiar with. Good old rich dad himself, Mr. Robert Kiyosaki. He says, my price prediction for Bitcoin in 2025, 175 to 350K. Happy New Year. Huh.
Yeah, and 2 weeks
What do
ago,
we
Zenith,
think?
he had
That
come
was
out
2
with
weeks
that.
ago?
Yeah, a couple weeks. No, that's from yesterday, but a couple days ago. But a couple weeks ago is the first time that he mentioned that $350,000 target, and people had kind of beat him up on it. And he waited a couple weeks and he doubled down. So either and if you I don't watch the show a lot, but I look at the headlines sometimes. I look at his tweets from time to time. Just trying to get sentiment of people that aren't necessarily solely crypto. And he's been very pro Bitcoin recently. Not just recently, for a while, but yeah, he's essentially what he says is anything that the government can't print, I'm into.
I mean, let's be honest here, though. His price range, it has a variability that is like the same. It's like half the window of the entire price range. Like 175,000 to 350,000. That's almost a $200,000 swing right there. So like that's a pretty damn big price range.
In fact, it's like 100% difference, right, from 175 to 350. But what was the range? What's the range that a lot of us have been giving to this potential bull market? The numbers I've seen thrown around a lot are 180 to 280 or 180 to 300,000. So it's not like he's super far off from a lot of the crypto people's. And look, yes, there's big variations. And I think because of how this market's setting up differently than previous 4-year cycles, it really is a bit of an unknown, more so than previous cycles. Last cycle, yes, we had sort of that black swan event that ended, in my opinion, ended the cycle a little early. Didn't get maybe as high as it could have. But we're kind of having an opposite effect here. We're kind of getting these white swan events, right? Where they're very, very pro Bitcoin. And so 175 is great, but depending on how some of these events fall into place, it really could skyrocket the price to unique levels compared to, the theory of the lessening of Bitcoin cycles, right? Like 1,000x, 100x, 10x, now we're down to like a 5x. Well, we'll see, or 2x. But yeah, a lot of those sort of potential white swan events could really inject a lot of capital into the Bitcoin market.
Most definitely. I think some of the numbers that we've talked about previously on the show is that a very conservative estimate that I've heard is around like $126,000 for Bitcoin. That would be a very low cycle, but that was also, we were talking about that like, oh gosh, over a year ago at this point. So we've already cracked like 107. So it's kind of crazy to think that might be the low end. The middle of the range that I've heard is right around that like 154,000, 152 area. That is a pretty, at this point, it feels like that might be the more conservative, it's less conservative technically, but that feels about right based on where we are time-wise in the 4-year cycle right now. And then obviously I think our top line estimate that we've talked about actually came from none other than Richard Hart, who said 241,000 and change. So I still think that is a bit of a high estimate, but it's crazy to think that's a little, it's about like a 2.5x from here. So is it out of the realm of possibility? I think absolutely not. I personally still give it like maybe a 10% chance of happening though, just because I think that it is quite a high target. Have you guys heard anything really higher than 241?
Yes, I have. I've heard I've heard a couple people that I respect say 300,000 as their high level, right? As their high level. And then I've heard some people that I don't trust say 500,000 or $1 million, which I think is, just people that don't understand the market or trying to really just get clicks, right? There's people that say something or throw numbers out there just to get eyeballs. And I don't tend to trust those people because they're just giving you clickbait. But I think 180 to 240 is a pretty big consensus numbers that I've heard from a lot of people. Now, that's sort of like, again, that mid to high range. Like you said, there's always a lower range. We always have to expect that. But there is a possibility that this is a Bitcoin unique cycle. And alts might not get to the level that they would have previous cycles if Bitcoin hits 200,000 or 250,000. But I think altcoins are still going to do great. It just might be a little bit later this year. But there is a chance. There's a chance that this 4-year cycle gets extended due to these unique white swan events, which we haven't seen in the market previously. And if that happens, I do think that Bitcoin has a potential to go a little bit higher. But I don't think that's the high percentage of probability that I would say put my money on. You know what I mean?
That's fair. Are we missing the obvious psychological resistance here of $169,000, or should we be looking at 269?
Look, 150 seems super psychological to me, right? Like 150 seems like that could be a hard number for us to break.
Yeah,
but you break through that, and then
all those zeros and fives seem like the ones in my mind. So like 150,
Yes.
200, and then quarter million sounds pretty good.
Right. If you get to 200, people might try to push it to 250 just because of that narrative, $250,000, right? And that's what's interesting. When you have a lot of market makers now, a lot of bigger players in the market, weird things can happen.
Absolutely.
Especially, look, if Bitcoin really starts to become scarce on the market, we could see a short squeeze. We could see a short squeeze that pushes it up, and it doesn't stay up there for long. But there's a possibility where kind of Bitcoin becomes so scarce that there's an opportunity where these guys, essentially short squeeze it a little bit. That's not out of the range of a possibility.
What is a short squeeze for the folks at home who don't know that? And by the way, I'm the folks at home who don't know what a short squeeze is.
Do you want it, Brendan?
Take it away, Zenith. You're a little bit better with your words at explaining these things.
I think there's actually a great irony is that this is one of the topics I talked about the very first time I came on Degen Roundtable was options trading. Oh gosh. So a short squeeze is talking about short options trading, which is that you can short a stock or a crypto in this case through options contract trading. Pretty much what it is that someone borrows Bitcoin and then sells it out and then plans to buy it back later at a lower price. This is a potentially dangerous move if it goes very poorly, because if the price continues to climb upwards based on that contract that you offered out, it means that you are obligated to buy and like reaffirm that price at the beginning. So what you're hoping for is that you bought it here or you sold it here and then you're going to rebuy back here, which means that this difference is profit that you make. But if we go the other direction, this means that this is money that you owe to the person you now have to go buy the higher Bitcoin from in order to make good on that contract that you offered on the open market. So this is pretty much the story of the GameStop thing back in, what was that, 2021?
Yep.
That was a hot minute ago. Yeah. So the thing was that people noticed that GameStop on the stock market was being shorted very, very heavily beyond anything that's like the basic fundamentals of like looking at the profit earnings ratios, looking at the fundamentals of the company, what their sector's looking like. People were like, all the venture capitalist firms are absolutely shorting the ever living hell out of this thing. So then a bunch of the old Redditors got together, and instead of shorting it with the VCs, they did the opposite and started buying it up to drive the price up. And this ended up costing the VCs a good chunk of money at one point, especially when, I think it hit a high of like, it was over $300 for a good chunk of time, I want to say. When the short squeeze was on, it was down at like $5 to $8.
It hit almost 500 Zenith at one point. Almost 500 was. I don't remember the exact high. It was 400 something, but it was like, yeah, it was crazy.
It was massive. So the idea with the short squeeze
from like $5, right? From like $5.
Oh yeah. I want to say it was like $5 in November, October of 2020.
Yeah, so this was January 2021 for sure.
Yeah, the point of the short squeeze is that if people are expecting it to go down and you have enough people and enough capital, you can effectively pump the price, kind of screwing over the people that were options trading. But again, at the same time, there's a lot of factors here, which is one, if you're really trying to like hurt people with it, what you have to do is try to get them liquidated out of their positions, which is hard to do. But theoretically, if you have a wick that's super high, it could do that. Additionally, it's not going to last very long, which means that if the options holders are able to hold through that high, then they will be fine. But at the same time, it all comes down to the expiration date on those contracts that you offer. So that's what it is.
Okay.
Yeah, and look,
so
if Bitcoin hits 200, there could be a lot of pressure to short squeeze it, right? You could see people wanting to push this number down. And make a lot of leverage, and that could push it up to unique levels. But again, for a short period of time, it's not a sustainable strategy. It's a way that's going to push money up, and this way you have to pay attention at all times. It's also why this is unique, because we didn't have these types of options previously.
Okay, I sort of kind of get it. Basically, it's just there's not enough Bitcoin for the people with the contracts that need to buy it, and so they have to buy it when it's a higher price. So if people can pump it up to a higher price, then they can sell it at that higher price because the other guys are forced to buy it.
And then it continues to push the price up.
Okay.
Pretty much. You're just betting that at a certain date in the future, like 1 month from now, the price of Bitcoin is going to be lower than it is today. The actions you have taken is that you've sold the Bitcoin that you were using for this contract, and now, based on someone else agreeing to that contract, you are obligated to sell or, shorting is you are obligated to purchase the contract at a specified price. So you're hoping that the price is lower, but if the price goes higher, you are now obligated to pay the higher price. It's pretty much gambling that it's going to go down, but instead you lose money because it went up.
What's the enforceability for forcing people to buy the thing if it just keeps going and going and going? They just go bankrupt?
There's many things, but as far as
break
the
your
actual
legs?
contract, not quite. It's more of just liquidation. Liquidation
Is
on
at a
certain
certain
exchanges.
point. At a certain point, do they just take all your money? And it's like, you can't pay the whole thing, you know.
Well, most
So we're going to
people-
take all your collateral.
Yeah, well, most people only have X amount of money that they can short or long, right? Like the normal person doesn't have a lot of. The more money you have, obviously, the more opportunity that you have. But the individual doesn't have as much leverage unless they're very rich.
But like a long can only go to zero, whereas a short you can owe infinite money theoretically, right? Am I understanding that correctly?
That is correct. There's also another weird wrinkle when it comes to crypto options, which is that it matters what denomination you're paying the contract in. So theoretically, if you make a Bitcoin contract and the payment is not US dollars, but it is Bitcoin, that means that if the price really runs away from you, it's almost a compounding effect because you now owe more Bitcoin, but the Bitcoin is now either worth a lot more money or it's worth a lot less money. So you could theoretically, so it's like multiplying by itself effectively.
But then what happens if you just like don't pay it because you can't? Like the price runs away to the point where you can't pay the contract off. It's like, well, I guess I just owe infinite money to a person or something, right? Like, what is the actionability for the exchange to force the contract to be followed through?
Usually,
Go ahead,
Zenith.
Pretty much just you pretty much owe money at that point, or the exchange that you offer this contract through is kind of on the hook as well. So you're either going to get liquidated or you're going to have a negative account balance. And
gotcha.
Yeah, usually they won't allow you to leverage more than what you have in your account. Usually.
Okay. So they use the account to pay off the contract. To force it.
Essentially, yes. So
the
smaller
that makes sense.
Now larger companies may have a little bit of leeway.
Credit line.
Yeah, that an individual person might not get. But nonetheless, there's still some sort of limit to what they have.
I mean, at the end of the day, it's pretty much just debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry if I took us too far into the weeds here. We can get back on track. I was just a little bit confused because I've heard that before and I didn't really know what it was. But I think
real
that
quick, Mrs. Producer, can we bring up the first comment by Betty? So I believe it's the starred one. The thing that we're describing here, where you are making a short position, but you don't actually have the assets, you sold it off, trying to buy back later. That's called naked shorting.
Mm-hmm.
Naked, obviously, because you are exposed, shall we say?
A lot of leverage.
Yeah, a lot of leverage.
Which is what we talk about. We're already leveraged here in crypto. We don't need to leverage more.
Bingo. There you go. Alrighty, let's keep it moving though. I got a few other things I want to talk about for Bitcoin before we get to the charts. So, everyone's favorite, Fear and Greed Index, baby. We are at 76 right now. Yesterday, 72. Last week, 65. So we technically are on the upswing. But here we're looking at the 3-month chart here. Sentiment is technically a little bit lower than it has been in the past, 3 months, because we hit 94 back in November of 2024. And since then, crypto has just been red hot. So we had the dip down on December 31st to about 64 on the Fear Greed Index. And now we are climbing back up. We're at about a 76. So people are not as optimistic as they were earlier or later last year, excuse me. But at the same time, though, 76 is still a very, very high rating. And we're definitely in the extreme greed category, as you can see here. Outside of that, what could possibly else be going on with this? Well, The Bitcoin ETF inflows rebounded to 6-week highs. The Bitcoin price reclaims 97K. So, one of the big things that you can look for when it comes to the ETFs is the inflows or outflow and what it's looking like. I was talking about this over on RH Max's show last week, I want to say, and looking at CoinGlass here, by the way. This is pretty much the last week. We had a lot of red, meaning we had a lot of outflows, aka the ETFs were selling. And then on the 3rd of January, we had a massive candle where they brought in about $900 million in straight inflow. So there's a lot of movement going on. It was on the outflow. It might be swinging back, but we're going to have to wait and see what happens on Monday when the traditional markets open up and people can start trading the ETFs again. But yeah, we have a lot of action going on with the ETFs. And any thoughts on that before we jump into the charts? Do you think the ETFs are still driving, or do you think we're at other forces at this point?
Look, I think the ETFs are still going to be important moving forward, but I think we need something else to come into the market to continue to drive it upwards. And I do believe that we're going to see that with more countries adopting Bitcoin, at least to have some within their reserves. I think we might see some other large entities, either if not countries, companies that also come in. And look, I still think that China is sort of a ticking time bomb. Once they start to ease there and really start to print money, I think we start to see a lot more Bitcoin inflow from China. And so I don't think our ETFs are particularly going to drive the price up much higher. They already have. Look where they've already put us. It's the other entities that now need to catch up to where the United States is. And that's going to continue to drive the price up, in my opinion.
Fair enough. I know one of Will's favorite Telegram channels, the Crypto News channel, was pinging me stuff a lot lately, and they keep doubling down on articles where it's like, there is now fewer Bitcoin on the exchanges than previously. The amount of Bitcoin that's being left on central exchanges is just going down, meaning it's being bought up by people. So the amount of liquidity on the exchanges also going down too.
That was the scarcity part that I mentioned earlier.
Exactly. So let's go ahead and move into the charts. I got Bitcoin here. We are looking at potentially day 64 of day 63 of the Bob Lucas cycle. We had a potential low here on day 56. To be honest with you, I feel pretty good that this is going to be the cycle low, and we are going to have a 56-day cycle after we had a day 43 cycle high. The reason that I say probably is because I think there's still a potential. It's a very low percentage potential, but I think there is still potential that we can see a new cycle low to finish it out somewhere between like day 63 and 70. But again, we would have to see a lot of action going on to get below this cycle low of about $91,400. Our cycle high was up at about $108,000. So new all-time for Bitcoin. We are in the price discovery phase of what's going on right now. But as we're looking at it, I think that the areas, or how about this? We'll look at this one first. The moving average indicators, I think, are an interesting tell right now because we just crossed back above our 50 and our 20-day moving averages. So our 20-day is going to be our short term. Our 50 is going to be our medium term. And then our 111 or 200-day, which we're looking at here, which is very long term, we are still well above it. And if you remember from earlier in the year, we were actually below the 200-day moving average indicator for about like 4 or 5 months there. So to be well above it at this point, it shows that we really are in the bull phase of the market. But when it comes to trying to predict where the possibility of another 60-day cycle low comes in, I'm looking at a few things. Because we broke above both of those moving averages, it leads me to believe that momentum is on the upswing, which is different from the downswing, which we would need to make that cycle low. Additionally, the only other thing that I could see really that I could see as the official indicator that would confirm to me that yes, cycle low is in, we're only going up from here, is if we crack above this 100,000 level, because we had this previous swing high right at just under $100,000, and it also matches up nicely to form a little bit of a resistance level with the high of the 22nd of November 2024. If you remember what I pulled up earlier on the Fear Greed Index, that was when we had the all-time high for Fear Greed this cycle so far. So that's what I'm looking for personally, is that if we break $100,000, I think that is full confirmation, new cycle is on, and we're probably going to keep moving upwards, and we can start moving to higher levels. Let's talk about the other side. Let's say that theoretically it does make a new cycle low. Well, what levels could we be looking at Bitcoin trying to hold? So I pulled up the good old Fibonacci retracement starting from the beginning of the cycle down here. We have the 618 level, which is we broke below it for the actual cycle low. So looking at this 0.5 level, which is at about 87,000, and I personally think that we're getting a good indicator of a support level building at 92,000. After that, I really don't think it's, I don't know if we're going below 87.5. It would take a lot of selling to get us low or lower than that. And even if we did, I do believe it would probably just be a very, very quick wick just for a moment or a hair. And then after that, it would rebound to the upside. So that is what I have for the bullish and bear case for that. Bear case is we're looking at possibly 87.5, probably somewhere just a hair under 90,000. And then as far as the upside, new cycle, talking about looking at the Fibonacci's going the other way. 107 or just under 108 is where we had the cycle high last time. Looking at 112 and 116 for our 0.618 and our 0.5 levels. So we can move there. And theoretically, if we run real hot, we could even get up to the 786 level and see about 124K in the Bitcoin price. Gentlemen, any thoughts on what I laid out there?
No, I think you nailed it pretty good. Are you going to also do Ethereum?
Yes, that is an interesting story, I personally think.
That was the chart that really interested me this week.
I completely agree. For anybody that's been paying attention to the DRT chat, I think I made a tongue-in-cheek post. I was like, well, Ethereum has actually given me hope for the first time in 2024. This was before we rolled over to the new year. And that is because Ethereum actually has a bit of a different shape and different fundamentals than Bitcoin. So we are at 3,622. We stuck around a bit of a trading range, between 32 and 35, but now we've broken above that, and we are well above the 20 and 50-day moving averages. But one of the main differences that I'm looking at when it comes to Bitcoin and Ethereum, or I was looking at earlier in the week, is the RSI, which is that Bitcoin continued to make lower and lower lows on the relative strength index. That's one of the indicators that I use. And Ethereum, on the other hand, actually started making higher lows on the RSI, showing strength. So Ethereum has been bleeding compared to Bitcoin all of 2024. In my personal opinion, it was one of the bigger letdowns for me. But at the same time, we're getting indicators and a little bit of confirmation that Ethereum might be about to have its time in the sun. So Ethereum is absolutely one of the tokens that I'm personally looking forward to, and we are starting to creep up on that 41,000 all-time high, cycle high for Ethereum.
41,000, hell yeah!
Oh, sorry, 4,100. 4.1. Sorry, the zeros get a little mixed up.
I like the logarithmic increase better. That one's more of my favorite.
Yeah, Zenith.
Sorry, please continue.
Keep going. I don't know if you're done or not. And then
I'm good. What do you think?
No, I was going to say, one of the things I said it midweek in the chat, in our Telegram, as you noted, and I was like, Ethereum looks really strong, and it really broke out of this small range that it was in very strongly. Sometimes when you see breakouts, they're kind of like a little bit of a fake or a wick, but this was a very strong and pronounced breakout from where it was. And like you talked about the RSI, it really is showing me, first of all, positivity. Second of all, strength. So I do think that we could start moving up towards its all-time high here. I don't know what that's going to look like. I think that we do get a pump leading into January 20th. I don't know what it's going to look like at that moment. It could be a sell the news event a little bit before we continue back up. But yeah, I'm really eyeing that 4,000, 4,100 mark. And, once we get above that, man, maybe ETH gets some life, because man, it's been a tough cycle for ETH. Not going to lie.
Absolutely.
I'm still bullish on it though. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good.
I'll just say the reason I'm still bullish is what happens to most good coins when people start to fade them. That's the time to get into them. So I do think Ethereum's going to have its time in the sun here soon, and that's good for the sacrifice of Richard Hart, good for the wallet, and that is good for the Richard Hart ecosystem, which I also like.
Most definitely. I think go for it, Will.
I was just going to ask you, I just remember what the cycle low was. I want to say it was like something around 800 or something like that back in, what was it, 2022?
It was
Like
800 and
800,000.
change. I think it just
Yeah.
dipped just below 900. Let's
I
go
mean,
see
if you
we
look
can
at-
hunt for it.
If you guys caught the low, then you're still sitting
889.
on a nice, pretty 4x, right? Like a 4.5, 4-ish X. So like, still not so bad from the low. Pretty
You know
good
what's funny?
if you happen to catch it that
I did
long
not
ago.
buy that much ETH at those lows. I was buying Bitcoin mostly at that time, just because I thought Bitcoin was going to be the first mover. I rotated a little bit of my Bitcoin into Ethereum a little too early, but I still have a good chunk to rotate in once I start to see Ethereum take off a little bit, or the others chart take off a little bit. But I still think Bitcoin's still going to be the first mover here for the first bit of 2025. I don't know if it's going to be 6 months. I don't know if it's going to be 3 months. I don't know if it's going to be 9 months. Like I said, this is kind of a unique cycle, and therefore it's really hard to predict. And it's why you really got to start staying on top of things. But man, buying ETH at 800 or 900 or 1,000 was steal.
Yeah.
Oh, but
it
if we
was-
only had a time machine.
If only. I mean, if we're talking about that, then we might as well go back to, what was it, 2009, and just go buy Bitcoin then and just never have to worry about it again. But yeah, other than that, though, looking at some of the Fibonacci stuff going on here, I will cover up you so we can get a better look. I personally think that the 36,000 or 3,600 and change is a critical area, because we've seen it in the past, especially in 2024, is that this is one of those areas that we kind of got above for a little bit, but then we always dipped below and then just kept trying to retest these areas, whether back in April or whether it was in June or even trying to get back up there in July. And then also, when we had the most recent pump in November, we stopped off there for a little bit. It tried to build support for one time, and then after that, we just blew right back down it. So I think that the 3,600 level to like 3,800 level is a critical area for Ethereum. But beyond that, theoretically, the next place that we could be going to is maybe like 4,400, 4,800, maybe even 6,000. Shout out to Miguel, Charlie and Miguel. I think one of their predictions for Q1 was that they're expecting $6,000 Ethereum in Q1 of 2024. It seems aggressive, but at the same time, we like those guys, and they usually have some really good stuff. So I don't think it's too much hopium. I think it's a little high in my personal opinion, but at the same time, who am I to argue with them? What do you guys think? Is 6,000 just too high for this one?
I think it's too high for Q1 because Bitcoin's still strong. I just don't think that we're going to see enough outflows from Bitcoin into Ethereum just yet, especially where people think Bitcoin's going to be quite a bit higher still this year. But I do think 6,000 is a little high personally, but you could start to see in that $5,500 range. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw that number. Again, psychological number you were talking about earlier.
Double in 3 months, right? That's what we're talking about.
Pretty much.
The Q1. Okay.
I
have no
less
idea.
Than a double.
Yeah, less than double.
Yeah. I got no clue. I'd be lying if I gave you guys a price range. Like, I kind of think it's all campfire stories anyways, and I'm not qualified with like the information nor the amount of attention that I pay. I just I look for, is it within the range that I think it is sell time, or is the market giving the signals that it's sell time? It would be really cool if it made that checkpoint, though. That would make for a great campfire story.
That it would. I think it's absolutely possible, and the reason that I say that is because going back to the old CoinGlass we were talking about, Ethereum has not seen inflows on the ETFs for the vast majority of the year. Only in, I want to say November and December did we start seeing inflows regularly, and then the inflows got really hot in December, I want to say. But the point is that if we can see a shift in momentum or a shift in traditional finance, kind of just aping the last bit of their money in for the top of this cycle, if it starts to shift to Ethereum from Bitcoin, that could be one of those things, in my personal opinion, that can pump Ethereum to those higher levels, and we can start to see that price appreciation out of Ethereum that we just haven't seen yet this cycle.
Yeah, I think it's possible. I think it's my personal thought is it's just too early for them to do that. I don't expect that to happen until later in the year. But again, who knows? I still have this feeling that Bitcoin is going to take off quite a bit. And I think the market is so hot on the Bitcoin sentiment that I don't see them rotating into Ethereum just yet.
Absolutely. On average, looking at the ETF flows, the Bitcoin ETFs do about 5 to 10x the daily volume of the Ethereum ETFs. The thing that I'm talking about with the Ethereum ETFs is that there's a shift in its own nature, which is that there was a lot of dumping for a long time, and then only recently do we start seeing the pumping. Bitcoin has been a different story. Bitcoin saw dumping for about 2-3 weeks before it started going to the moon back in March of 2024. Since then, it's been a mixed bag, and only recently did we see a lot more money on the ETF side for Bitcoin. But still, I'll say it again. To this day, Bitcoin averages 5 to 10 times the amount of volume that the Ethereum ETFs are doing. So, to Brandon's point, Bitcoin is still absolutely the main driver for traditional finance markets. And as we talked about earlier as well, people keep buying Bitcoin off the exchanges. So it appears that Bitcoin is the hot commodity still right now. And until we get confirmation of that change, it's kind of all speculation. Fair enough. Gentlemen, what else should we look at while we're here?
Well, we should tell everyone to smash the like button.
Absolutely.
Yes. Don't forget to like that smash button, folks.
True.
What
Let's go ahead
about
and take a
Pulse or Hex or one of the other coins that you guys like? I don't really. I'm pretty Richard Hart Maxi, so like that's what my suggestions would be, is looking at those. But I imagine they would more or less reflect Ethereum and Bitcoin. Maybe not quite as maybe not quite as well. But like, are there any coins that are on, or any tokens that are on your guys' mind?
There are a few. I'll run through them real quick, and we can finish off with Pulse Chain, Hex, and all that stuff as a segue into our next topic. So our number 3 coin this cycle, in my personal opinion, we got Solana sitting at about 212, which is just a hair above the previous high from March of 2024 when Bitcoin made the all-time high back then. We did have our dip down to about 175,000, but we've recovered that. And we've even stayed above the 111-day moving average. This one's interesting in my mind because it really respected that 111-day moving average. That's more of a medium to long-term indicator. And now we're looking like we're trying to break above the 50-day moving average, and we are above the 20-day moving average. Solana is a weird or an interesting one because we have a slight inversion in the moving averages, which is the 20-day is below the 50, but the 50 is still above the 111. So it's not... It's more of just like it's showing a quick wick down as opposed to a long, broad trend. Overall, though, Solana still looking pretty strong in my personal opinion. Had a high of 264 here back in, again, 22nd of November, the day that we had the all-time high for Fear and Greed. Outside of that, Phantom, the Sonic network did just launch. So as a lot of people kind of predicted, Phantom started to lose some value as people were selling to transition over to Sonic or just making the swap themselves. We had a low here at about 66 cents after a high of about $147, and we were starting to recover upwards. But yeah, that's a big player right now because they just launched the upgraded network, and there's a lot of bridging going on. Right now, you can go both ways, but there will be a point, I'm pretty sure it's near the end of February, where you will only be able to go from Phantom to Sonic and no longer from Sonic back to Phantom at all. Outside of that, some of the other classics, good old Cardano. Actually looking pretty strong here. Looking like it's getting ready to recover this high of $1.32. We're sitting at $1.08. And let's keep looking. AVAX, similar story-ish. DOT, looking a little bit weaker. This one has been a bit of a laggard in my personal opinion, but still an interesting one, especially as our layer 0. And let's finish it off. What else we want? Let's look at some meme coins. Let's look at Doge.
Basic attention token.
Basic attention token.
No, not really.
That one. All right.
That one's like,
Doge's,
that's the one for Brave browser. You can like enable ads and it pays you in BAT token.
Yes, sir.
It's ridiculous. Don't listen to me. Go ahead and hop on over to Doge.
Doge is looking like it's getting ready to make another move to the upside if we see Bitcoin start to run again. And I think Pepe is looking like it's getting ready to do something similar as well. So keep an eye out. It's not all coin season yet, but if we get a good move out of, if we get a good move to the upside again with Bitcoin and even some of the other ones like Ethereum and Solana following, I would not be surprised if we saw that alt start to really rocket as well. That is what we got off of that. Let's go ahead and share. Good old GoPulse.com, everyone's favorite pulse chain price aggregator, shall we say? Or it's not an aggregator, it's more of just an oracle. because it reads price. All right. Pulse chain sitting at a 0.000493, aka pretty much 50% of SAC price, or 49%, if you will. Pulse X, 4 zeros and a 308. Again, about 30% of its SAC price. And incentive token is $1.77, and Hex is at 1.39 cents. So notably, over the last month, the RH ecosystem has bled a good bit, and we've moved to some lower levels, but we're still up off the bottom, or even where we were back in September. So with that being said, Pulse Chain is down about 42% over 30 days. Pulse X is down 45% over 30 days. Incentive token, 54% over 30 days. And Hex, 51% over 30 days. But let's go ahead and start pulling up the charts. Let's look at Hex first. So back in September, we had our first run up to about 1.8 cents, and then we had a retracement all the way down to, I'm going to use this one because this is just a wick, a retracement of about right smack on 1 penny, and then we went all the way up to 3.1 cents, and then now we have a retracement, if you ignore this wick, down to a low of about 1.3 cents. So the question right now is, are we looking at a new support level forming, or are we getting ready to move back to the upside when it comes to some of these levels?
Yeah, one of the things that we want to keep seeing here, Zenith, is those higher lows, right? I don't want to see that retrace down below, back to a penny or below a penny, because then we're not creating higher lows, and that's showing weakness in my opinion. If we can keep it here around, 1.2, 0.12, I think that higher low is still positive long run. Yeah, it doesn't feel good right now. It doesn't look good when you have a 50% retracement. But as long as you're creating higher lows, you're moving in the right direction.
I completely agree. If it's possible to have that daily low from the 3rd of January at about 1.3 cents, if that can be the new low for this higher low, I think that would be phenomenal and show some real strength going on here. As far as the RSI, though, the RSI is rather low, almost down to that oversold territory again. So the question of how much lower can we go? Well, theoretically, you can always go down, but to make a real run in that oversold area, you gotta have some real sell pressure. Out of that, let's go take a look at. You want to look at Pulse Chain?
Sure. That'd be
Let's
lovely.
look at some Pulse Chain. All right, sitting at about 48% of SAC price. Again, if that 3rd of January is a local low going on here with this wick, but if we can form a new level here, that would be fantastic. Right now, it looks like the level from this last lower spot was right at about 43% of SAC price. So if we can stay above that, that would be fantastic again. Just showing higher lows is building upwards momentum. Any thoughts on Pulse Chain, gentlemen?
Keep going. I'm bullish. Still bullish. And we got the Hex conference coming up starting tomorrow.
That's true.
So we'll see if that has any positive momentum for the price.
True. All right, gentlemen. I think that should do it for the TA section. Let's talk about the big news of the Hex Pulse Chain ecosphere. Gentlemen, which one of you would like to run through this thread?
I will go ahead and bring it up. For those of you guys that don't know, there was a token that launched a while back that was developed by an OG in the Hex ecosystem. And he's been around for a while. He created the stake wrap a long time ago, which had a whole bunch of problems and stopped a whole bunch of people from making money. The long and short of it is that this protocol that he made is no longer working. The official website of the protocol says, hey, don't put any money into this thing. Don't send any tokens over here. Don't deposit any Ethereum. Don't interact with it. Don't use it at all. It was a failed product. Lots of tokenomic failures, and a lot of, 1900 Ethereum was sent into this thing or something like that.
Yeah, 1921, I believe, was the final number.
Yeah. So yeah, it's basically just like this whole thing was a big flop. There was a lot of referral codes that went out. You know, a lot of people were talking about it. A lot of people have since removed it since it went away, which is like, some people think it's good, some people think it's bad. I personally think it's good when people take down things that are not a good idea to leave up and whatnot. But it's like, it's the lesson to extract from this whole little process is that, like, it really behooves you to pay attention to what is the brand of the developer, what is the brand of the community. Like, think about the tokenomics. Like you were talking about Miguel and Charlie earlier. One of the things they talk about is their fundamental four, their box is like, you got to look at the developer, you got to look at the community, you got to look at the tokenomics, and you got to look at the technical analysis, right? Like, there was a bunch of red flags with this project. There was a bunch of red flags with this token, and a lot of people unfortunately got rugged and they lost a lot of money in it. And the important thing to remember is, like, look for the discernibles, look for these red flags before they appear, and like, don't hop into the gains train, and just kind of like be vigilant, be discerning. I don't know. That's my take on it. What are you guys' thoughts?
Yeah, I'll take it next. Look, I think that it's challenging because, like you said, there were a lot of referral codes that were going out by some big influencers. And there's a couple things that are always like put my radar up. And one of those things is when a lot of referral codes go out to people, because that means that someone is getting paid behind the scenes every time you click on those referral codes. And looks like you get an extra 10%, but in the end, all the money that's going in is also going out the back door. So you do have to be a little bit weary when a lot of people are getting codes or getting free allocations of coins. And I hate to say this, but you really need to be careful about the people that are creating these tokens. If they put out bad products in the past, you really have to be careful about using their products in the future. I'm not saying that they're all bad actors. I'm not saying that they're trying to scam you or rug you. They might be. But at the very least, they're putting out products that aren't good. And that's a red flag in and of itself. In addition to that, on November 7th, if you're in our Telegram, you can go back and check it because the message is still there. One of the members of the Degen Roundtable had mentioned the Ulti token and said, "Don't touch it. There's issues with it, and it's a piece of shit." Sorry to use those words, but we warned people.
It was proven.
We warned people, and we did our best. It wasn't something that we kept talking about. Again, when you talk about things too much, people then get interested in it too. So you kind of have to have this balance of like, hey, tell somebody once or twice that something's bad, but then look, it's on them to make their own decision from there. We're not going to hold people's hands. You're not children, but we are going to give you our best advice. We didn't have any referral codes. We've never taken money for coins. We don't even have a paid Telegram. So, everything that we put out right now is completely free. And so, there's nothing that we're trying to, get from people. And I think that's a benefit to us, but also like, we're not perfect either. Like, we make mistakes. Other people make mistakes. So I'm not going to sit here and say that everything that we said or put out is perfect, but we have saved people on a lot of protocols that have failed. So,
yep.
That's true. I mean, I've said it time and time again, which is that making projects is hard. Making good projects is damn hard. So,
oh yeah,
I'm not going to fault people for if things don't go the way they thought, but at the same time, you got to make sure to do your due diligence and try not to be a bad actor in the space. I don't know enough about this case in particular to know if that's the case or not. But at the same time, though, I think that we might still be in a little bit of a bear market mindset, which is that whenever anything goes poorly, it feels like a catastrophe. But who knows? Maybe some green candles will change some minds coming up in 2025. But outside of that, yeah, folks, to reiterate, this project in particular, quote, "We strongly advise against depositing or buying Ulti any further." So there you go, from the horse's mouth, their verified Twitter profile.
Yeah, it says it right on their website as well.
And there's one more thing too, and it's like, no matter who talks about tokens, no matter who shills stuff, no matter who has the referral codes, at the end of the day, the person clicking the buttons is the one that's responsible, has the authority over the outcomes, and is accountable for everything that they do. So like, just remember, guys, like, if we give you bad information, if another influencer gives you bad information, if some developer creates a bad token, like, the people that interact with it are the people that are responsible. Like, we can be angry that people steal from us. We can like, those are all reasonable responses, but like, all things said and done, it's like it all falls on our own individual. Like, whenever we're sitting there hitting that, like, submit transaction button, or whenever we're like rolling the dice on some sort of centralized exchange or on some sort of leverage protocol, or like swapping on a DEX or something, anytime we take any action at all, the complete authority, responsibility, and accountability lies on the individual that's doing the action. So like, as such, it's super duper important to pay attention, and like, don't blame other people if you lose money. Like, if they steal from you, then it's like, well, damn, I learned something today. Like, try and extract the positive out of every bad thing that happens. Think of every time you lose money on the blockchain as like, oh, I'm paying for an education to not do that one particular thing ever again, right? Try and find the silver linings, adopt that, what is it that Jocko's book is, extreme ownership. Adopt that extreme ownership mentality, and everything will be okay. At the end of the day, we all have the ability to print money by going out into the regular world and interacting with our own two hands, and doing stuff. So it's even if you lose everything, it's not the end of the world, So that's my little hopeful sign off. What you got, Brennan?
I'll add one more thing. I think you bring up a good point, and you kind of said it in passing, but the Richard Hart ecosystem does still feel like a bear market, because I think for as long as we're below SAC price, I think people are going to be feeling this sort of like infighting, this sort of like, worry and upset mentality, and green candles solve all. And I think the more green candles that come within the core ecosystem, we'll probably start to see less people, maybe less projects, but there'll still be more people out there trying to get your core coins. And so you do have to be really careful about where you put your core coins. If you're really, into this ecosystem, and you really trust that they're going to do well long term. Richard Hart has said it in the past. People are going to come and try to take your core coins. They're going to try to get your coins to give you something else, right? And you have to be careful out there, and you have to realize you have to go in with that mentality, and then say, hey, is this a way that I can increase my core coins or not? Look, I'm not saying that meme coins or these other protocols are bad to invest in. I'm just saying that you have to be careful. And as we get above SAC price, I think some of this infighting and some of the worry within the ecosystem is going to fade, because I think, like you said, green candles solve all, and I can't wait until we're above SAC price and stay there.
That's very true. With this ecosystem in particular, I think there are a few things that are really going to help get us there that are still holding us down. Number one, still the SEC and the Richard Hart legal case going on. We don't have resolution on that yet. So I was hoping to get it before the end of the year, but it's 2025 now. We still got nothing. So that's neither here nor there. What you got?
I actually wasn't hoping we were going to get that before the end of the year. I'm hoping that we don't get it until January 21st, because anything that happens before the current SEC goes out they could just literally put in a new case before they retire, and then we're back to square one. I'd just much rather just wait for Auntie Carol to wait till January 21st to throw this out, and then we have a whole new SEC in there. And look, there's a little bit less worry for me if that takes place after January 20th versus before January 20th.
So I agree. Although personally, I don't think that January 20th is going to have as big of an impact on this one as we think. And if it does, it's probably going to be in a more indirect way. This is actually a question I got from one of the folks over at the Axis Gang. They were like, is Trump's inauguration going to affect this case? It's like, theoretically, no, but practically maybe a little bit, which is that the case is currently being heard in the 2nd District, aka New York, the backyard of the SEC. Are federal judges federally appointed by the President of the United States? Yes, absolutely. Beyond that, does that have any sway over how they handle cases? No, because they're the judge. Now every decision is their own decision. What could potentially happen is your boy Paul Atkins over at the SEC replacing Gary Gensler on the 20th, theoretically, because Gary is stepping down literally the day before Trump's inauguration, and afterwards we're getting our new head of the SEC. All of the please take this with a big grain of salt, by the way, but all of the speculation and inside talk up to this point has been that the new approach for the SEC is that they're going to reevaluate all the open cases and determine whether it's continuing to worthwhile pursuing, saying, well, we might be a little over our skis. Let's see if we can try to settle or resolve this in some way that will be amicable for all parties involved. Or if it's really bad enough, they're just going to rescind it and just try to go on to greener pastures and go hunt down the actual bad actors instead of just continuing to try to do the regulation through enforcement. The enforcement has not been working the way they've been doing it, and the win-loss ratio in the courts is starting to prove it, that Gary Gensler tanked their win percentage. I hope people understand this. Absolutely tanked it. They used to have like a 98% win rating. It's down below 90, like well below now 90, I'm pretty sure at this point. And that's just because they tried doing it that way, and we're ready for a change. If that's the case, and under Paul Atkins' SEC, we see the RH case kind of go away, that would be the reason for it. It's not directly, I mean, it is directly because of Trump, but at the same time, it's not a... The president is not going to sway the judge ruling on the case. And by the way, I happen to think that good old Auntie Carol is... I think she's a very fair judge, and I think she's knowledgeable on the crypto subject, so I'm not too concerned about it. I think that everything up to this point has just been wind in the sails, which is that the arguments are good. The arguments from the SEC were very poor. The line of questioning from the judge was very specific and pointed, and we even saw the SEC start to rescind their own stuff about Hex during the hearing. So on top of that, even out of the Fifth Circuit Court of Texas, we saw multiple wins for crypto cases. One of them was even Tornado Cash, of all things. If Tornado Cash can win, hell, Richard Hart can win. You kidding me?
And again, if he does, and if she does plan to throw it out, why not wait until after the current SEC is gone? So if she does dismiss the case, I prefer that dismissal to come later in January. But again, even if she doesn't dismiss it, the SEC could get rid of it altogether after the fact. So we now have two opportunities for Richard Hart to be exonerated, and that's better odds than we had previously. So let's hope that.
I got a third option that people won't like, I don't think, but it's just something that I think would be interesting, is if it does not get dismissed and it goes to court, and then we finally get some precedent set for, like, is crypto security? Are, assets on the blockchain, do they fall under Howey? Is there going to be some sort of new, like, thing that comes as a result of that? So, like, even if we don't get these first two, like, beautiful scenarios, and we get the third one, like, I still don't think that we're going to get an SEC crazy win or whatever. And that gives us the opportunity to set some legal precedent, which I think is always a good option. So that's my 2 cents on that right there anyways.
I just don't want to wait 2 more years for this to be resolved.
Yeah, it's right there. Both of you guys hit that right on the head, which is that, Will, you are correct. If this actually goes to a official trial, although it's not going to be like a trial like Law and Order style, it's pretty much going to be a bench summary judgment from the judge regarding the actual case. But if we get that, it will set precedent, and it will be a huge win legally if it goes in favor of Richard Hart, which, as it stands right now, even the motion to dismiss looks very good. So the actual once they actually get into arguing the details and finding out who's actually correct, I have a feeling it's going to go very much in Richard's favor. But Brennan has another great point, which is that, like, yes, it's very cool that we get some good judgment and good precedent from a legal court, and a pretty high one, to be honest. The only thing higher than that is Supreme Court at that point.
Yep.
But yeah, something like that would be good, but that takes time, and a lot of time, to be honest. And we're talking about it now. I think the three of us here are expecting the bull run definitely not to last through 2025. There's a possibility of like a super cycle or a right translated cycle or an extended cycle. But again, I think those are very low. And I personally still believe that the 4-year cycle is going to hold. So I'll say it. And I'll say it again, which is that I think end of September, early October. That's the top.
Top for Bitcoin or top for alts?
Top for Bitcoin, excuse me. Excellent clarification.
This all sounds good to me.
Zenith, I kind of stopped you in the middle of your what's holding back the pulse chain. The first thing you said was the SEC case. You had a couple other things that you were going to add.
SEC case. Thanks, Interpol and Europe, for just more bad press. And it's technically old news, but it's just recirculating it and resurging it. That's one of them. And then on top of that, I think that the alt season might have to happen for Pulse Chain to really run, which it is what it is. But at the same time, Pulse Chain has shown that it has the capability, the entire ecosystem has the capability to run independently of everything else going on. especially when it comes to news like the Richard Hart stuff, or even if we have some sort of large whales or onboards. I mean, shoot, we know for a fact there are a lot of good Hexicans out there trying to do good work onboarding people. Like shout out to Corey Geary down in Puerto Rico, trying to get all the real estate boys in there, and they bring some real money. So the injection of new capital is one of those things that could pump it. But until we see another big round of that again, volume candles are down, news sentiment is down. Feels like sentiment overall with the ecosystem is down. So in my personal opinion, I think this is a great time for the Hex conference. We could use a little rejuvenation, shall we say.
And just a reminder, Hex hit all-time highs. I believe it was September 2021. So if Pulse Chain were to, mimic that, because remember, Hex ran up really fast, really freaking fast. And if we were to mimic that, we could still see this ecosystem take off a lot this year, and I expect it to. Personally, I do expect to see exponential gains here in 2025. Not financial advice, but I wouldn't be in the ecosystem if I didn't believe that. And if this SEC case gets going, I think that's the first catalyst to get us up back to SAC rate or above, and then who knows where we go from there and how quickly.
On a magic carpet ride. Hashtag not financial advice, baby.
Never is.
We're all just telling campfire stories.
Love my campfire stories.
True. Alrighty, tell you what, let's take a quick break here. Talk to the community. Will, if you would do us the honors, good sir.
That's good, because I just pulled into the yard over here underneath the beautiful WFA TV towers. It's time for chat motherfucking shout-outs, ladies and germs. Let's get to it.
Beautiful. Mrs. Producer, if you would do us the honors, we'd greatly appreciate it. Alrighty, up first. Oh, we have this might be a familiar face. Will, who is this guy? Who's this guy?
This is my brother Samuel Stevenson. Like the video, ladies and germs. Shout out to you, Sam. He put out a good video earlier today whilst I was driving about framing in 7 minutes or something like that. So good to see you, Sam. Welcome to the stream. Glad we could have you, bro.
For sure. A handsome man and a excellent dude as well.
Yes.
Up next, we got Hex Glenn. He says, good evening, Degens. Good to see you, Hex Glenn. Funkmaster Hex coming in here, as always, with the beverage goods, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. Good evening to you, sir. Let us know if you're... real quick, am I the only one going to Vegas in January, or is anyone else going? If you're going... Oh, you're going?
Wait, January?
January.
Not January.
Crypto Mindset Meetup.
That's a crypto mindset meetup. Yeah, and Will's thinking March for Pulse.
No, I got a wedding to attend. I think Brendan's got a wedding to attend. It's all happening in the same weekend.
Yeah.
So.
Unfortunately, I have to attend this wedding because I'm in it.
Yeah, you're the I almost said maid of honor, but you're the groom. So no joking about this one. Brendan's gonna be the married man soon enough. This will be awesome.
Yeah,
true.
Let's see, 13 days.
Yeah, dude. Like you're gonna. That's big news.
So, Funkmaster Hex, anyone else out there going to Vegas in January? Hit me up. We'll hang out. I'm looking to play some golf. Looking to record some content, not just with content creators, but with some community folks as well. If you're interested in it, no pressure. I'm just saying it's gonna be a good time. Sorry, Mrs. Producer, I missed that one. All right, Sam Stevenson. Since Bitcoin value is tied to energy cost / mining, could the government create its own mining system to acquire Bitcoin at a quote-unquote lower price since they can control power distribution? I think that might be a little optimistic for how much control over the power and power generation and the price of it the government has, but I get what you're saying here. Could they Maybe it's possible. Could they incentivize people to do it, or God forbid they do it at taxpayer expense and just start mining Bitcoin using taxpayer dollars to pay for it? That would be less than ideal, but theoretically, yeah, sure, they could. Why not? It's possible. I think it's personally unlikely. I think there are a lot of steps you got to get to before the U.S. government just openly says, yes, we are Bitcoin mining now.
Yeah, I'd be surprised if they did.
They might already be doing it. I don't know.
Well,
I don't got a tinfoil hat here, but
yeah,
I guess suppose anything's possible.
I've got a Wendy's burger. I'll put that tinfoil on my head. That's my
There you go.
tinfoil hat. Is the government's already mining Bitcoin, or they've been mining Bitcoin since the beginning, or something. I don't know. I do not know.
There. One of my favorite tinfoil hat theories about Bitcoin in general is that there was a white paper put out, but I believe it was a CIA guy back in the late 80s talking about a decentralized network of computers and using that as a source of currency. And the author of that paper from the CIA, his name sounds awfully close to Satoshi Nakamoto. So it's like, this is real strange. It's like at the same time as well, like a distributed ledger sounds like a government's wet dream, which is like, oh, I can see every transaction ever, forever. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. That is one of those sticky stories.
That's why Richard Hart says mixers are so important, because if you want anonymity within crypto space purchases and transactions, you need to be able the way to rinse your money so people don't know who's making the transactions.
Dude, I was thinking about that in the shower today. I was like, I wish Pulse Chain had a mixer. Just to give people privacy.
They do. ZKZX. Zero knowledge, zero expectation. I've used it before. It's pretty easy. Or, well, it used to be easy. They removed the front end. But yeah, it exists on Pulse Chain, ZKZX. You send Pulse in.
And
it's quite simple.
And I know that you only used it prior to mixers becoming illegal in the United States, obviously.
Obviously.
Absolutely.
It's not legal advice, but I'll give you legal advice, which is don't admit to crimes on camera.
Yeah, so this is all theoretical, obviously. Like, there's no way anyone can prove that this happened. But like, it's a good protocol. I will say that. So shout out to those dudes. They made a fantastic tool. It is super easy to use, or at least that's what I'm told. So it's awesome.
I'm just hoping that the court decision goes into practice soon, and that we can actually use mixers again as United States citizens.
That's true. Until then, though, we do have to stare the camera square in the face and say, apply to all your local laws, rules, and regulations. Cool. All right, this is producer. Back to the chats. Speaking of tinfoil hats, we got Crypto Bigfoot coming in here. Let's go.
Let's go.
Thank you for
Speaking
the
of campfire stories.
Yep.
Oh my God. What else we got?
Stories.
Betty talking about naked shorting from earlier. Yep, that is exactly what it is.
Hold on, one second.
Oh, there we go.
There you go. You're getting extra tonight, folks. All right, X-Skin Lost in Asia coming in. Hey, you don't have to join a paid group to hit the like button. That is absolutely true. Everything is much, much appreciated. And unlike Rags to Riches, we will actually ask you to like, comment, subscribe. Shout out to him. I hope he's doing well in 2025 with his family as well. All right, Jonathan with the blue Mustang, I want to say it is. He says, hi, boys. Good to see you, my man. Hope you're doing well in a new year. We got Jemmy coming in. Happy Sunday, everyone. Happy Sunday to you. Had a rather productive Sunday, actually. We got Jason Smith saying, hello, Degens. Good to see you, sir. Thank you for stopping by. Cotton Trust. Someone is still depositing ulti. Well, to that person, I say, please read the website.
Rest in peace, amigo.
Don't get wrecked. Yeah, a little bit. Paul Sachs asking the important questions here. Is Robert Kiyosaki the Tai Lopez of this cycle? Good to see you, boys. Good to see you too, sir. What do we think?
I don't know. I like Robert Kiyosaki a lot more than Tai Lopez, just from like a personability perspective. Maybe we'll see if Robert Kiyosaki puts out a coin, a Robert coin or a Kiyosaki coin, or Rich Dad coin, maybe.
I like that one. I think Rich Dad coin might do pretty well.
That would be fun. Oh man, if he publishes if he makes cash flow into a blockchain game, that could be a thing.
That'd be fun.
I don't know. Hey, Robert, fucking do it, bro. Take my idea. Run with it. Or anyone else listening to this, if you guys want to make it, go for it. Ooh, fuck yeah, we got Brother 64. Hey,
says hey Degens and gives the old 07 salute. Good to see you, sir. Thank you very much. And after that, we have another good friend of the channel, Chad Donner Schwans. Hello, fellow based crypto bros. Good to see you, my man. Glad to see Pepe still on the moon where he belongs. After that, we have our very own Dace Northal coming in saying Binance has entered the chat.
Ooh,
good chance.
Hey, let's hope let's hope that Binance gets back into the United States soon. I think that's going to happen under the new administration. And I mentioned this
Ooh.
months ago. So
Yeah.
I very highly expect that to happen in the near future.
That would be awesome. Sorry, CZ. Come on back, please.
True.
That would be cool.
True. What? Oh, shoot. We'll get to it when we get to that. Brother is saying, congratulations, Brendan.
Thank you, brothers.
Yes.
And we really appreciate you and your friendship to myself and Degen Roundtable. So keep building great stuff, brother.
Absolutely. After that, we have Jonathan saying, I have a blue Camaro and a blue Charger. But are you just a little blue man living in a blue house as well? And everything around you is blue, inside and out. Sorry, Bill, I know.
I won't say.
And we're all going to get demonetized for that one. Of all the things to get demonetized for, that one might be an interesting one. All right, we got, last but not least, Corsi Konakopia saying, are there any crypto games on Pulse Chain?
Yes, there is.
There are, and there's even a few different ways you can think about this one. Will, what you got?
I was just going to say Mafia is a thing that's pretty cool. If you guys are familiar with Moondog or our good friend Larry or Gifford or RG3, there's a lot of stuff going on over in the Mafia world. So Mafia is a game that is being released in chunks. They keep adding a little chunk to it and building on the game and building on the game and building on the game. It's a cool little role-playing game where it's kind of like Clue. It's kind of like interact with other people and like make little deals and like go do assassinations and trade around bullets and health and armored cars and bodyguards and stuff. It's a fun little like world building game. So shout out to I think Jacob is the creator of Mafia. Yeah, there it is. So there's Mafia right there. That's one of the games that's on Pulse Chain. I would say that's probably the biggest one. It's also got some stuff where it's looking like it's going to start being able to do some sort of cross-chain integration protocol stuff, some CCIP things similar to Chainlink. I know they've already got some Oracle stuff going on over on the Binance side because this game is launched on both Binance and Pulse Chain, so you can play Mafia on either of the two chains. So I think at some point there's going to be an exchange of sorts that allows people to trade assets and do like cross-chain swapping and things of that nature. I don't entirely understand it, so like take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt, but Moondog is an expert. He fucking loves this game. For those of you guys that aren't familiar with Moondog, super cool, awesome, brilliant guy. Big shout out to him. He's been talking to me about Mafia for a long time, and it's probably something that I need to be learning more about because it's a very interesting system of gaming. And then also our good friend Crypto Kool-Aid, he's very familiar with gaming technology, and he'll be able to talk your ear off about systems theory and not game theory, systems theory relating to this game and all this other stuff. And he knows all the ins and outs and the tricks and things. So this is one of the cool games that exists on Pulse Chain. And there's also some other gambling sites, but this is the big one, as far as I'm aware, is the Mafia one. Do you guys have any thoughts on the GameFi on Pulse Chain?
Yeah, I got a few thoughts. There's this one, there's a few others, but while we're at it real quick, this one actually has a token associated with it for those that are interested. We are not I'm not endorsing anything publicly here. I'm just letting you know, these are the things that are out there. Actually, I will say, I am playing Pulse Wars, which we'll talk about in a sec, but I think the entrance date to that has already passed, unless you want to purchase someone's active NFT from them, but good luck with that. So yeah, Mafia's a good one. Token appreciation's been pretty solid. It's not a rug that I know of, or yet anyways, but looks pretty good. The gameplay I hear is fun. And another one is we had the creator of this one, Ali Kane.
Ali Kane.
I think he's an Irishman. Gonna get crucified if I'm wrong on that one. But yeah, he made Pulse Wars, which is kind of like a fantasy football trading style thing. You purchase an NFT, or there were a few NFT collections that were grandfathered into it, and then you, based on which kind of NFT you have, you're allocated a certain amount of tokens, and you can change your allocation. And then it's like March Madness style, baby. Every phase, I can't remember if it's 2 weeks or 4 weeks, but pretty much you go I think you go head to head with somebody else, and then the winner of that moves on to the next bracket. Your NFT is still absolutely valid. You have it forever. And there is even some additional weekly competition stuff going on. But then you mentioned the old gambling. There technically is a slight gambling
Pulse
site
pot.
as well. Yep,
right?
good old pull spot. Yeah, so
This-
this one you can do interesting
This
things for
is-
sure, in my personal opinion. Go for it,
This is
Will.
some raw degeneracy website. This is literally like you click the button and you lose. You click the button and you lose. You click the button, oh, you win. You click the button and you lose. And it's just a whole bunch of different variations of you click the button and you lose. But it can be really fun. There's like interesting characters that make their own little stories and things. But like Pull Spot is it's a little gambling DApp that it's like it's kind of interesting and stuff. I presume that it's blockchain, but yeah, it's literally just like it's about as simple as it gets. Like imagine you're at at the casinos or whatever. You just see the people button mashing the one button that's on the slot machine. They're just sitting there tapping the button like a bird with the intermittent peck reward system, where you peck the button enough times and it drops a little piece of bird food down, and then you just sit there and you peck the button a whole bunch, and then you eventually get the bird food. Except each time you peck the button, it costs you 25 cents, or it costs you 10 cents, or it costs you 5 pulse, or whatever the metric is. So this is a fun. It's like a little arcade, a little gambling addict game. So caveat emptor. Do your thing. What
Again,
are your
take
thoughts
all
on
this
it,
with
Z?
a giant grain of salt, please. But
Yeah.
I mean, we've definitely been on record before talking about the idea of like, instead of gambling, what if you could just own part of the casino? And well,
Yep.
these boys took that literally, because you can actually buy the token. This is the PulsePot token. I believe the ticker is PLSP. And I mean, it's a chart. It's one of the charts of all time. I'm not going to call it amazing, but at the same time, it's not a rug apparently either yet, as of now that I know of. Again, I don't think it's financial advice, but at the same time,
The
it's
thing
like,
that qualifies tokens as rugs is, one, do they pull the liquidity so you can't get out of it? Or two, is there some sort of tokenomic bug that makes the token go on into an infinity, or some sort of exploit someone can use somewhere? And that's not really a rug. That's just like bad creationism. A rug is when someone like basically takes all the stuff out of it and nobody can do anything anymore, right? So like,
Or they sell all of their tokens on your head and they had a huge allocation.
cough,
if there
to a coin.
if there's a massive dump, then that would be another version of a rug. The guys with the market, the lion's share of the economic the economic offset, if they just like dump it and they extract everything, then hey, like you'll get that sometimes.
There you
Can I
go,
mention
Cozy
a couple-
Cornucopia. Go for it. Sorry.
No, go ahead, Zemus. Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, Cozy Cornucopia, I hope that answers your question, and apologies to anyone else that has created a GameFi project.
Yeah,
We just can't remember it right now.
Oh yeah, I do want to mention one more quickly.
Yeah, what
it's
you
not
got?
out. It's not out yet, but they're actually launching multiple games. Wonderwolf.io. They're building a few games on Pulse Chain, and Simon, who's one of the founders, he is part of the Degen Roundtable community. So he's in our Telegram, and
Yes,
the first one's going to be a meme coin shoot 'em up. So it's going to take a lot of the memes that are on Pulse Chain, and they're going to put that into the game. It's going to be some sort of shoot 'em up game. I don't know that much about the details of each of the games, but as you can see, they're developing the artwork for it. And they have, I think, 3 or 4 games that they're planning to launch in 2025.
There you
And
go,
I
folks. The
believe-
world's first meme coin FPS, available on mobile, but designed as a web-based desktop experience, including multiplayer.
I think also Crypto Sloth has a Flappy Bird style sloth jumper. I don't know if that one quite counts. and then I want to say that Solid X is also creating a game of sorts that I can't exactly remember, but there was stuff being talked about with the Fire Whale and the Axis community and things like that. But yeah, there's some stuff that's cooking and brewing in the GameFi space. I don't think that Pulse Chain is quite like super really nailed down in the GameFi as quite as much as like Ethereum or AVAX. I want to say it was AVAX, but
Brendan, they have a good FAQ here. One of them says, "Are you friends with the SEC?" Answer, we've never met. No member of our team is a U.S. citizen or resident, and we've all been offshored for years. This is a private pre-sale of Wonderwolf chat members and accredited investors only.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes, so they did a pre-sale. They did essentially like a sacrifice. So you could deposit X amount of Pulse, and you can get X amount of the tokens when it comes out. I don't know much about it. I'm not saying do it. I'm just saying
It exists.
another game that's being built on Pulse Chain, or games being built on Pulse Chain.
You know, at a glance, this is possibly one of the best project websites I've ever seen.
It looks very good.
Yeah.
I've gone through it a few times.
It's just so clean. And
Yeah, that is a nice, clean UI.
It has all the info you ever want as well. Like
Yeah.
token metrics, token vesting schedule, the details, what's capped, the transfer structure, the volume bonus. Like, wow, like this is, ooh.
You might notice that the white stuff in the background almost looks like paper. Like there's like a white paper kind of look to the way that this website is built, and I think that that's pretty cool.
That's true.
Anyway, if anyone has questions, Simon is in our Telegram, so you can hit him up there. And I know he's done a couple of videos with people recently. We have not had him on yet, but maybe in the future.
True. I do say Simon has a good nickname here, the Diamond, for any UFC fans. That is Dustin the Diamond Poirier. That's his nickname as well. So it's also a hard photo. Well done, sir.
Yeah. I will say he's chatted about it from time to time when he hops on Whiskey Wednesdays, but yeah, that might be something worth doing a special guest segment about. So to be determined. We shall see.
True. Alrighty, gentlemen, and Cozy Cornucopia, thank you for our, oh gosh, that was like a 15-minute tangent, but I hope it was a good one.
It worked.
That it did. All right, let's talk about 2025, or rather, oh gosh, sorry, Mrs. Producer, I'm doing this to you again. What some of the people with money allegedly are looking for in 2025. So from Cointelegraph, we have crypto VCs reveal what they're looking for in 2025. Political tailwinds in the U.S. and the anticipation of a friendlier regulatory climate are positive signs for the crypto industry. Would you gentlemen happen to agree with that idea?
Damn it, I just took a huge bite out of this hamburger. Yes, I think that there's like I was like, oh, he's talking for a minute. I can sneak in a bite like off camera. Damn it, Zenith.
I'll keep going.
Sorry. No, I had muted my mic, so I took myself off mute, but my mic was muted. So apologies. Yeah, I think this is what I was talking about previously. This is some of the things that could potentially create some of these white swan events versus black swan events that we have gotten in the past, and very positive for crypto, in my opinion.
True. We have a quote here. It says, as we enter into a supportive macro environment driven by stimulative U.S. policies and the formalization of crypto regulatory frameworks, these macro tailwinds are set to drive more venture capital investments heading into 2025. I would happen to agree. It would appear that 2025, the landscape is going to be a little more friendly to people willing to park money in the U.S., whether it's actually President Trump talking about how he wants to bring the crypto industry back into the U.S. through certain incentives, and also a changing of the guard with the SEC, who will hopefully be more friendly to crypto folks inside their own country and jurisdiction. But yeah, overall, it's looking good. As far as what we expect to see, gentlemen, what do you think are going to be the trends for 2025? We have a small graphic here. We see we have climate tech, consumer internet, enterprise software, frontier tech, and crypto appears to be well above all of those targeted by venture capital. So overall, it looks like crypto might be the next frontier, so to speak. But inside of it, top level, we have real world assets. But notably, I don't see mention of AI or even GameFi. What do you guys think might be the niches that we're looking at?
I don't know if this qualifies for the VC question, but I think that a big part of this crypto cycle is going to be stable coins.
Stable coins. Can you elaborate on that one a little bit?
So that's just my 2 cents. Like, I think that there's been a lot. So like, you know, not Doquan. Who is that? There was a dude that was killed down in Puerto Rico not too long ago. DAI is changing their whole thing. They're launching a new protocol. They're Skynet. They're fucking. We can track you and shut off your bank account coin. There's like Tether is becoming persona non grata over there in the EU, and over where they've got that new the MiCA, I want to say it's called, the MiCA regulations, where anything that's not like Circle, or excuse me, I think it's USDC, they're banning all the non super duper centralized stable coins over there. DAI will no longer be available in European exchanges. Neither will I'm pretty sure Tether. we've had all of the, well, I mean, this is kind of just on Pulse Chain, but we've had all of the liquidity forks happening, with the liquid loans, with the Earn protocol, with the Flex protocol, with the soon to be theoretically launching, as Fast Abdul was saying, the P stability protocol. So like I've been seeing a shit ton of news, like Tron. I think Tron just launched a stable coin. I want to say that XRP is also doing a stable coin.
They are.
If I'm not mistaken, I think the Ton network might have done a stable coin. As I've just been scrolling through the I guess I'll come up back on camera since I'm not eating anymore. But the as I was scrolling through all of the crypto news stuff, just like in these last like weeks and months and things, I've just been seeing stable coin thing after stable coin thing after stable coin thing. And I don't know if this is necessarily something that's venture capitalist question minded. So like as far as the relevance to your question, I'm not entirely sure, but I do think that this cycle is going to have some very, very, very heavy focus around what stable coins will people be taking profits into versus like leaving the cryptocurrency system entirely. Like, so like if we take, if we take profits from Ethereum into DAI, and we keep the DAI on the chain, then the money never exits the cryptosphere. But if we then go and we use that DAI to go and like send it into dollars to buy a house in the traditional finance world, then it's like then we're entering and exiting, the cryptocurrency market, and that causes like the market cap to rise and fall. And I think that if people can find a way to keep their stables in the ecosystem, and if there's more systems that use cryptocurrency stable coins to interact with real life stuff, like shout out to Blockbend.io with their little debit cards. That's one of the ways that like we can do pulse chain offboarding or off ramping, is you buy these little prepaid Visa credit cards with pulse chain or with whatever, and you can use these little $100, $1,000. I don't know exactly what their limits are, but like just if there's ways for people to keep the cryptocurrency in the cryptocurrency ecosystem, then like if there's more stable coins, then the entire market grows and the entire market gets more, what's the word, legitimacy, so the more stable coins there are floating around staying in the cryptosphere, and the more options people have for taking profit in stable coins and keeping it in the ecosystem, whether they're doing like stable yields or whatever. Like I think the bigger the system goes. So if there's somebody that's going to build a money making stable coin, I don't know if the US government's going to come after you, and you might end up like that gentleman on the Puerto Rican beach, may he rest in peace. It's super sucks he was chopped up and put in a suitcase or whatever, but like I think that that's going to be a big narrative for this cycle. So
all right, stable coins, I like it.
Yeah,
Brendan, what do you think?
I still think AI is going to be huge in 2025. It feels like it's lost some of the luster here in people's, like the front of people's minds. But I don't think AI is finished. And in fact, we're probably going to see some new AI projects that are going to take the market by storm. And then some of the existing ones will probably build something that we don't expect. So I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know, but I do think AI is still going to be a big play in 2025. And I do think that tokenizing real world assets going to continue to be something that more and more people look into, especially as more and more of these venture funds and capitalist funds get involved. It just makes sense because they can cut down a lot of their fees by wrapping things in smart contracts and tokenizing them rather than going through traditional means. Could that be real estate? Could that be other types of tokenization? Yes. Other types of real world assets? Yes. But I think real estate is one that obviously makes a lot of sense. And I don't know what the time frame is on that, but I do think that could be a big theme in 2025.
I think I'm right there with you on all those points, which is that I think AI, it feels like the wind is kind of falling out of the sails a little bit, but I do still personally think that AI stuff is going to have a big showing this cycle. And then also real world assets, the digitization of real life stuff. I think the narrative is still there and people are trying new things. Shoot, what was it? A few weeks ago, we covered the story that they actually completed their first hybrid Bitcoin-backed loan for a real estate apartment complex. It was.
Yes.
So I think the integration into some more traditional finance and even real-world assets stuff is definitely possible. But I don't know. Personally, when it comes to the AI stuff, it feels like it might not be as much of the wild, wild west as we originally thought, and that a lot of the AI stuff, just because it's so hardware intensive and electricity intensive too, it's not as available to the everyday average Joe, so to speak. So it seems that that one kind of is locked behind the big boy paywall. Although the decentralized AI stuff I think is interesting, and that's where we're going to see a lot of that going on, whether it's like Fetch, now ASI, or Render, or any new projects coming up. And then outside of that, the RWA stuff, there's going to have to be a change in sentiment, in my personal opinion, for people to not hate NFTs as much as they do. But I do think that there was a lot of use cases there. It's just going to come down to adoption.
Well,
surprisingly, go for it.
Oh, no, I didn't mean to interrupt you. I thought you're done there.
About done.
I was just gonna touch base on that because one of the things that we had recently is the fractionizing of NFTs. Right. So that was something that was really necessary, in my opinion, to really start to tokenize assets, because you need to be able to break up an NFT into smaller pieces if you're going to be able, in some cases, if you want multiple people to be able to invest in something. So I think that was something sort of something new that is that's been really good. And I think that's going to be really helpful for tokenizing assets.
You're talking about the 404s, right? Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
those things are cool.
Some people call them, yes.
I think the protocol is like the ERC and the PRC 404 is your ERC 20s are tokens, or ERC 721s are NFTs.
Yeah, but I don't think that's what we're going to start hearing from traditional finance. I think they're going to start using actual terms like fractional NFTs rather than like 404s. But yes,
gotcha.
You're right about that.
One of those is a little easier to remember.
That's true. Yeah. Yeah. My website won't load.
True. I know we just spent 15 minutes talking about it, but where do we think GameFi is going to fall into this cycle?
It's a tough one for me, man. I'm like so mixed on GameFi right now. I just don't think that there's anything out there that's bringing in the real gamers. Now, one thing is money, right? So there is an ability to pay people to play games, and we've seen some of these tournaments happening that have sent quite a little bit of money, but I just haven't seen any real adoption in GameFi with traditional gamers. Until that happens, I'm kind of torn, because I do think there's some good gaming projects out there. I do think there's some potential behind it, but I just don't think we're there yet.
I think I'm in alignment with you, which is that there have been some disappointing narratives or projects have fallen through that I was very excited about. The number one that I'm talking about here is Dead Drop, or the Midnight. Oh gosh, what is it? It's the Dr. Disrespect game. And that right there is the key of why I think that project has failed, which is that it very much was driven by the personality of Dr. Disrespect, and it got canceled a while back there and it died out. I've played that one. I have played, oh gosh, what was the Shrapnel? And I've looked into some of the other games. I think I had the highest hopes for Dead Drop, just because by Midnight Society, that's what it was. That one, it felt great. It played great. And the actual, like, you could see the success story there for sure. Shrapnel was a good one. It just seems a bit clunky for me. The gameplay wasn't as engaging, even though it technically was more like in depth. It just didn't have that feel, if you know what I'm talking about. I mean, it's a first person shooter, and the gunplay just didn't feel that rewarding, so to speak. It was kind of more of just like, usually get one person and then you get got. And it doesn't feel like the gunfights were very engaging. But the point is that I think those were projects that I think it bummed me out a little bit. But stuff like Illuvium, I think they make fantastic games. I think the release that they had was a great success. Shoot, they even had a recent sponsorship or partnership with G-Shock, and they had special limited edition G-Shock watches. I thought that was super cool. Obviously, right now the price is down massively. I think that might be part of doing the massive airdrop they had for the release. But overall, I think the team is still working there. They're looking at building a stable of games, not just one, because they have multiple games available. And I have hopes for stuff like Illuvium. I do think that GameFi is going to I think it's going to have a good showing. I don't think it's going to be amazing. It's not going to be its first cycle amazing, but I think we're going to see better than play to earn GameFi games. We're going to see games that actually have interesting gameplay that draw people based on that alone, as opposed to just I'm here because I'm getting paid allegedly. It might sound crazy, but I think the one thing that could save GameFi, Grand Theft Auto 6. And I say that because those GTA games, they have a long life cycle, and people like having all the fancy things inside of them. So theoretically, if the in-game items get tokenized, or there's even a currency in the game that is also tradable on the public markets, that seems like it could be a just absolute home run winner in my mind.
Yes, but I'll say, I know it's set to launch fall this year. I'm of the opinion it doesn't launch till next year. They take their time to make sure this game's perfect. It's not like other AAA studios that release games too fast and they flop because of it. So I don't expect to see GTA 6 to come out to next year. And so I don't think that's potentially going to help the narrative this year.
Yeah, I got a shout out for Dr. Hexologist. Shout out to him. Yesterday, he did a stream where he was talking about how early access video games are basically securities. Like they're the closest thing to securities that there ever can be. And this is all his so like all credit to this idea goes to Hexo. But he was saying that like, yeah, you basically pay for a game that isn't done yet. You expect them to do work with your money and to create a good product. And sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you get defrauded and, the game sucks or it's terrible and you don't get your money back. And sometimes it's great and it's awesome, but you're sitting there waiting and, and so like he put together this really great argument how early access video games are all securities. So they're like the most security of all the securities things. And they get away with
the argument. It sounds very entertaining.
It's great, dude.
Here is where is the profit? How do you profit?
You're just getting a video game. You're not actually making any money off of their profits.
Yeah. The rest of it, though.
Unfortunately, I wish I could buy a video game and get some profits along with it.
Yeah. But it was such a funny. I think he was having fun with it though. It was great. So shout out to Hexo. Yeah. Go check them out.
Alrighty, that is what we have for trends. I want to talk about another trend, which was part of the other article. We have 75% of Ripple's open roles are now U.S. based. The CEO, Brad Garlinghouse, is talking about. We even have a quote from him. Here he says, "This is even more personal after Gensler's SEC effectively froze our business opportunities here at home for years." I'm not going to say the man has an axe to grind, but if anything, it looks like he's gonna try to win just through being successful. And we got another one here coming from a January 5th X post from the CEO again. Quote, "Team Trump is already jumpstarting innovation and job growth in the United States with Scott Bessent, David Sachs, and Paul Atkins and others at the helm. They are not even in office yet. Say what you want, but the Trump effect is already making crypto great again." End quote. And for reference, Scott Bessent, is who is appointed to be the new Secretary of the Treasury. David Sachs is, oh gosh, I just covered him the other day. Crap, I'll come back to it. But Paul Atkins is SEC as well. And I'll just do a quick Google search here. I want to say...
So Ripple might be the first crypto company to actually integrate fully into the U.S.
It is
that would be pretty
possible.
nifty. That'd be cool if, like, man, I sure do hope that the Ripple investors, or not the Ripple investors, that the XRP army, that they get like as much wins as possible, because that's just like, that would be such a beacon of hope for the rest of the sphere, just to see like, hey, these guys can be down and basically miss like 2 fucking bull markets, or like a bull market and a half. And, you could just, like with the company dump with the, with like the massive holders dumping on the open market the entire time. And then they come back with a vengeance and shit goes good. And like, it would be such a cool underdog story. So that's my thought on that.
I agree. If Ripple could turn out to be the big winner in all of this, I mean, the joke would be on us a little bit because we do kind of make them a lot of the butt of a lot of jokes. But at the same time, if they can turn that around on us, hats off to you, gentlemen. That would be phenomenal. But overall, the sentiment I think here is aligning on multiple different fronts, whether it's the SEC or government or Congress. If you're trying to break down the presidency and Congress separately, there's a lot of good folks that I think got elected this cycle or retain their seats and are theoretically going to be coming into some good positions of power when it comes to committee assignments. Because a lot of people don't know this, bills live and die on committee assignments. So if you can control certain committees and have good people on certain committees, that's really going to help you get things through Congress and get your agenda through, shall we say. I'm missing words for that one, but that's what it is. I do want to, let's talk about the bear case here a little bit, which is that is the president talking about bringing crypto back to the United States shores a good thing? I would agree, yes. Is the new head of the SEC hopefully going to be not ruling through suing people, but instead putting out good regulations? It also appears yes. But what's to say that 4 years from now, this doesn't swing the entire opposite direction again? Does it concern you guys that there might be so much based on so much favor or ire for the crypto industry, depending on who's in office? Do you think that builds good, stable environments, or is that something that people are willing to wade through or not build on?
Let's hope we can go so deep in 2024, 2025 through 2029 with good legislation, with good laws, with good framework, that it's hard to tear it down. I mean, when the ball gets moving in certain types of businesses and economics, it's really hard to stop that ball once it gets rolling. So could they lessen some of it? Could they be less positive towards it? But can they change everything after 4 years of positivity, especially if it's helping the economy, or, you know, other parts of the world have now adopted it? It's gonna be really hard to go back on that, because if other people are in it and we're not, again, we might lose our edge. And I'm hoping that we can get enough legislation that's really hard to, in 4 years, to reverse that.
I have a little bit more of a cynical take, and that's that I think that anything that gives power to the people and makes government not get money will probably not live very long, and anything that gets government more money and gives them more power will be nickeled and dimed and pushed forwards, like, you know, take an inch here, take an inch there, take an inch here, take an inch there. Incremental changes, like something that starts off as a beautiful thing eventually gets turned into a bureaucratic nightmare. So, like, I don't think that it's necessarily going to be a short-term problem, but I'm hesitant to hold on to any long-term hope. I love to see what's going to happen in the short term, and I wish to God that it will be super cool and awesome forever. But you kind of get this problem with most things in politics. It's like, oh, every 4 years it could flip back and forth the other way. Because we live in the Western world, we have a little bit of room for thankfulness, where we don't have to worry about, like, you know, a dictator taking over tomorrow and, like, mowing down half the population. Like, these are our first world country problems, as opposed to the more, like, crazy things that could be going on over in other spots. But it's like, oh, excuse me, this is just a general, you know, political game that we run with. It's like Roe v. Wade could get overturned this political cycle, and then it could get reinstated the next political cycle. Like, the people can decide, like, oh, I want to do this, that, and the other thing for these 8 years, and then, like, you know, something happens so crazy extreme that everyone votes the other direction, or all the money gets thrown in the campaign in the other direction. So, like, we'll go through these cycles, these ebbs and flows naturally, and I don't think that we'll have a whole lot of power to affect it out on an individual level. So our efforts are probably best spent in focusing on ourselves and maximizing our own things and learning the systems that we live in, and using our tools to the highest leverage possible. But I do think that things are probably going to change after this administration is out. I hope it's for the better. My distrust in government leads me to believe that it will go to the worst. But, like, you know, we'll definitely see. It's certainly something that's on my mind, which I suppose is the crux of your question, is like, is this something that we're thinking about? Abso-fucking-lutely. Can I do anything about it? well, I can plan my life out better. I might not be able to change the system, but I can sure as hell change me. And I can change where I go and where I live, what states I'm a resident of, what tax laws do I like fall prey to, or can seek advantage and refuge under. Where will I go? How will I vote with my feet, with my wallet, with my economic energy? So these are things for us to definitely think about. I think we're safe for 4 years, probably, and then after that, we'll have to just keep our eyes on the ball and see what's going on.
Gentlemen, I think both of you guys hit everything perfectly. Will, you're entirely correct, which is that at the end of the day, we can only control what we can control. As far as the business stuff there goes, if it makes the government money, they're typically going to be happier about it. If they have a good amount of say over it, they're also probably going to be happier about it. Like you, my distrust of the government remains high, regardless of who has their hands on the helm at the time. I hope that the size of government and the scope and power of the regulatory authorities will be reined in under this next administration. But at the same time, though, nothing's guaranteed. And to Brendan's point, I think you said it very well, which is that you got 4 years to build as big and as well as you can. And if you build it so big and so good that there's no reason to get rid of it, that's how you have that lasting power. I think there's very good reason for it, but at the same time, with some of the technology we're working with, it's very easy to move overseas with some stuff. So if you get spooked, I wouldn't be surprised if there could be a exodus, unless there are some serious exit taxes placed on everything going on. Overall, though, I think that, like I said before, I think a lot of things are coming into alignment, and we're getting a little bit of that perfect storm, shall we say, of good regulatory environment, good laws, and good money flowing in. What more do you want out of that? Hopefully we can build something good with the industry here.
I just saw our private chat a moment ago, and on the subject of what more can you want from that, there's some pretty interesting information, a nice little campfire story. Mr. Brendan, I want to toss this over to you because you're the one that typed it and saw it. Can you tell me a nice, pretty little campfire story?
Yes, there were rumors that Mr. Trudeau, our Prime Minister to the north of the Canadian region, is planning to resign this week. Now, I still have some family in Canada. My best friend is from Canada, down here in Miami at least. And so I kind of pay a little bit of attention to what's going on up there. I had heard that he was going to be resigning, that there's going to be some sort of special election for a new prime minister in Q1. I did not expect to hear that it was going to happen this week. But if that happens, that is very good in my opinion. And it doesn't mean that it really depends on who's in power next, right? Could be someone as bad as Trudeau, but he's so bad that I'd be surprised if it's that bad. So I think it's positive, and it's a good campfire story. So we'll see what happens.
I like it. I know there's even some speculation that the Donald Trump joke of shout out to Justin Trudeau, the governor of the 51st state of the United States up there. It's like, theoretically, could something happen and the U.S. starts expanding territory again? I don't know. You willing to sell it? Crazy ideas. I've heard.
I think we'd make
as well.
We'd make a good, fun team.
Look, I think that I think that there's something to be said for Trump getting office and Trudeau leaving. I don't think that is because look, there's been a lot of people asking for his head and his resignation for a long time within Parliament. And I think that Trump getting elected may have pushed him to make this decision. Now, I don't know that for a fact at all, but
it might be. At the same time, though, I'd have to imagine that the politics of the U.S. and Canada are still separated to a good degree. I don't follow it very closely, to be honest, although I do get some remnants every once in a while. I know there was a Conservative Party guy who was running for prime minister who was making a good run there, doing a lot of good media, good press, and really pushing back on the establishment up there. So overall, someone please correct me where I'm wrong and fill in the gaps for us. But not going to lie, as far as this news goes, if it's true, again, I'm looking at a Reuters report here. It says that Canada PM to announce resignation as early as Monday, so nothing is guaranteed. But this is a spicy meatball of a rumor.
And on the subject of spicy meatballs, I'm going to take this opportunity to transition us to the very final chat shoutouts of the show. Mr. Zenith, Mrs. Producer, would you guys like to roll through these last little bits?
Absolutely. So we do have one more comment here from Cotton Trust. He says DeFi crypto is riding on the tails of TradFi crypto. The big battle between the two of them will happen down the road. I did also ask, what time frame do you think that's going to happen? And he gave us a response of 2029, 2030. The battle will be over. The question is, will there be some kind of truce between the two, or will one just straight up win out over the other? Gentlemen, any thoughts about this one?
Time will tell. It's really hard to say.
I'm hoping
I don't
that
want
DeFi wins.
Yeah, I think we all are. I don't want TradFi getting too deep into my crypto pockets here.
That's all I got.
I might take a little slightly different stance on this one, which is that I think DeFi is going to continue to grow. And I think that depending on the trajectory of the US dollar, it could really inspire a lot of people to get into DeFi. Or if we actually course correct and we get the debt under control and the spending, it might allow TradFi to remain the top dog out of these two, just due to pure convenience and people not having to access the blockchain and learn how to interact with all that stuff. Is it easier to go on Coinbase and open an account, or just go buy ETFs through Fidelity or whatever? Yeah, absolutely. It's also more secure, or there's less security in your hands as a DeFi user if doing it that way. But at the end of the day, I think that adoption is very much a real thing. I think we are moving further down that adoption curve when it comes to Bitcoin, and I hope that more people learn and understand how to use that stuff. Similar to email, there was absolutely a learning curve, but everyone figured it out, and that's what we use now. I hope that Web 3 absolutely dominates Web 2, and that instead of having to give personal information to a lot of websites, you can just use a wallet address, and that as well. We have Cotton saying TradFi wants an alternative too. Yeah, I think shout out to C3 Works from the Actuator Protocol. I was talking to him a lot about this in New York City, which is that he said that TradFi likes having more tools and more ways to make money in their current existing systems, which is that in particular, if you can do stuff like they're doing with the Actuator Protocol, which is using kind of like making a bond market out of Hex shares, because on the TradFi side, we have the bond market already. That's one of the tools that those people like. They can use the different time frames to try to value the value of money at this time frame, and whether it's going up or down in this time frame based on like future forecasts and stuff. I think if you give TradFi more tools to use in the DeFi sphere, there might be more conversion from that sphere. And at the same time, the more advanced tools that are available to users that are good, proven, and have lasted a little bit of the test of time, I think people are going to be more willing to learn it and get involved with it. So, like you said, I do think the battle is coming at a certain point. And to quote Richard Hart, the market will decide at one point or the other, and we'll have the great EHEX PHEX debate over TradFi or DeFi. So there you go.
One of the important things there is digital identification. Are you going to know who the person is of each identification, or is it going to be decentralized and it's just a X, right? Like it's just a pseudonym, but you don't know who's behind that address, right? Like that's going to be a big thing. How they do digital IDs for transactions and using these types of programs in the future. Look, this is a whole show that we could go down, but that's something that's going to be one of the really big battles.
I think you're overlooking the obvious answer, which is we already have it. You go give your eyeball scan to WorldCoin, and there you go.
No, but they said they're going to delete that info, Zenith.
Oh yeah, definitely get deleted.
I need more tinfoil.
Agreed. There's not enough tinfoil in this house to believe that they're deleting that data that they paid for and worked for. Get out of here. Yep. Apologies to anybody that was fooled by that. Yeah, your eyeball scan is now theirs. So have fun.
Yep.
And funny that the people that did it the most were the poor people. Surprise, surprise. Because you got your free $30. Surprise, surprise. And look, I'm not saying I'm just saying they take advantage of people that are less fortunate. That's what I'm trying to say.
Incentives, baby. It's all about incentives. And if you're incentivized to do something, higher likelihood you will do it. So.
Why don't presidents fight the war? Why do they always send the poor?
True. Mrs. Producer.
Brother 64 based. Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Sorry. I know we're working you overtime, Mrs. Producer. Can we bring up Brothers real quick? Thank you, Muchly, by the way. He says, Canada becoming the 51st state could be great, depending on how it would actually go down. Make Canada great again. Go.
I love it.
Alrighty, folks. Final thing we wanted to highlight here on the show. The Hex Conference is starting tomorrow, I believe at, oh gosh, I can't.
6 p.m. Central Time, I believe.
Thank you. 6 p.m. Central Time, 5 p.m. West Coast, 7 p.m. East Coast. We are started off with, oh gosh, how about I just make it bigger? Why don't I just do that?
Hey, there we go.
We're starting off with a TBA for political influence for the keynote. And then after that, we got some good folks. We got Hexastani Dylan. We got Fame.io guys coming on. They are a donor for the Hex Conference. So thank you guys for making that happen. Joe Blau, Keeping Hex Fun with Crypto Coffee, Shill Gates, Wild SJ, Ben Sierra Pro. We even got Freddie Quotes, Hex Author, Hex Talk. And then closing out the evening, we have a large social where you might notice some of the names down here are familiar. Starting off, we have Crypty Girl, Timothy Benjamin, Okeechobee, Hex Ninja, Bean the Machine, a.k.a. also maybe Anonymous Bean, formerly known as, Will Stevenson, The Ascending Man, Zenith DI, and a mystery slot. So, folks, if you like hanging out with us, hang out with us tomorrow night. We should be a good time, and we are very much looking forward to it.
11 p.m. Eastern Time, 10 p.m. Central Time is when our segment starts, and we all kind of get a little bit of time to speak throughout that hour.
True. We are going all the way through Thursday, and we're going to be closing it out with the Power Social that night from a lot of our good friends over here. Shoot, we got Axis Live, Crypto Coffee, Corey Geary, SJ, Whitney Magic, Rachel Lobb, Maddie Allen, and even more guest slots. And my personal favorite, I want to give a shout out to Nuclear Herbs, who's doing a legal recap that first opening segment on Thursday. So don't miss that if you want to keep up to date with all the stuff going on in the Richard Hart case or overall crypto legal landscape. I think that is going to be a very interesting one, and I am very much looking forward to that chat personally. Gentlemen, is there anything you're looking forward to for the Hex Conference this year?
It's going to be a good time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of people that are, upset about things that happen, but look, anything that can bring eyes to the ecosystem that's free is a positive. And so I do think that people should support this conference, even if you don't support everybody that's participating in the conference, because I think it's good for the overall ecosystem. And look, sometimes we're just going to put away our pitchforks and work together to build the ecosystem and get eyeballs in, get more onboarding. So let's work towards that together.
That is 100%. A crazy concept. Look at that. Working together and putting the pitchforks down.
Friendship and teamwork and team building when it's team building time. I don't have any. I'm looking forward to Aubrey de Grey's talking spot. He's always got a really cool thing going on there, so that'll be fun and awesome. And I'm just stoked to hang out and chill with people. That's all I got. What about you, Z?
Like I said, I'm looking forward to the legal recap with Nuclear Herbs. And I think there's also going to be a fun panel with, again, more of our friends, because we're making friends with people at the space. Imagine that. The last day, second to last power panel is going to be SJ, Fast Abdul, and Axis. All three good friends of ours and all good folks that have shown up on this channel. And I think it's going to be a fun one. This might be speculation, but hear me out. What if Fast Abdul used this time to launch the bribing protocol on 2Fucks?
Ooh.
I mean, he could, but isn't this the Hex Conference?
Yeah, that's true. That might be too much. All right.
We'll find out. We'll see. But write that down in your guys' little campfire story predictions book. If it does happen, then, the speculation, you heard it here from Z.
Hey, if I'm right, that would be amazing. I don't have any insider info. We like Fast Abdul a lot, but he's not giving us any of that info, I promise. It's just all pure speculation. All right, gentlemen.
And we got no dongs tonight, so...
Yeah, nobody threw dong at us. I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing.
This is probably a good thing.
Yeah, I agree.
I like it no matter what happens. Go ahead and take us out of here, Z.
We are coming to a close of the show. Everyone out there, thank you so much for joining us tonight. We're going to go around the panel real quick. Mr. Will Stevenson, what do you have going on in the near future, and where can the people find more of you?
Yes. So for the folks at home who do not know who I am, and if this is the first time you've ever seen me, my name is Will Stevenson. I'm an iron worker that travels the United States. And when I'm not traveling around the United States, I talk to assholes such as these gentlemen and yourselves. And I also organize Hex meetups. So if you guys are a Hexican and you want to meet other Hexicans, I don't organize them all myself. I give power to you, the Hexicans, to go and do it yourselves. So if you're a Hexican and you want to meet other Hexicans, go to bit.ly/Hex_meetup, and go chit chat with other people. If you guys are looking to follow me on any of the platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, OnlyFans, everything can be found at my will.pls.fyi. I don't have all of those platforms, by the way. I just thought it'd be fun to name some. But you guys can find all of my socials off of the Pulse domain, will.pls.fyi. That's where my little link tree and all of that stuff essentially lives. And that's all that I've got going on. Like Zenith said, we've got the Hex conference going on Wednesday. We had a special guest slotted up originally. It was going to be my good buddy, Dr. Alan Chen. We're going to have to move him later on into the month because he's got a hospital work thing that he has to take care of. He goes and helps out kids at the hospital. So scheduling is kind of an issue for doctors, for those of you guys that don't already know. So that's being pushed back to the end of the month. So this Wednesday, the Hex conference is going to be going on during that time slot. So do you guys think it would be appropriate for us to do a Whiskey Wednesday, or should we let the Hex conference take the spotlight?
I mean, there's two things that we could do. We can also stream the conference and talk about it while it's going on, which I think would be a cool thing to do.
Would it
You know
be
what?
too
I'm
crazy
down for
to
that.
do, like a Hex conference watch party.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Maybe.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Oh.
I'm down. I'm so fucking down. And then we've also got Friday. Friday is book club. I don't have a book scheduled for then. Zenith, do you want to do
me on this one?
Yeah, it would be your go. And I have a suggestion if you're interested.
I am all ears.
Creature from Jekyll Island.
What's the pitch on that?
The beginning of the Federal Reserve.
Oh.
Yeah.
All right. You heard it here. We're doing that one. Good old
Okay.
talk.
Excellent. The Creature from Jekyll Island. Yes. Federal Reserve, baby. I'm pretty sure that's the name of the book. It's something. It might be just something from Jekyll Island, but it's something along those lines. Look for that book. I will find the name of it and I will put it into our Telegram for book club, t.me/Degen book club, if you guys want to hop on in there. But that's all I got. Mr. Brendan, the Anonymous Bean, where can the folks find you and what have you got going on in the near future, amigo?
If you want to become part of my top 8 on MySpace, got to friend me there.
What was the T-Mobile thing where it's like you can have free calls and texting to your 5 or whatever?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Your top 5. But yeah, so either MySpace or if you hit me up on my AOL Instant Messenger, one of those things will work. Hopefully, still. I don't think either work, but you can find me on X at anonymous_bean. And oh man, I miss those Yahoo chat rooms. Those were a good time back when I was like 10 years old, 12 years old, whatever it was. Anyway, I digress. So you can find me on X at anonymous_bean, and you'll find me tomorrow on the Hex conference, 11 p.m. Eastern time, 10 p.m. Central time, along with Will, Zenith, and the Ascending Man, Nate. So we thank you all for coming. And yeah, I think I'll be on Wednesday, and I think a watch party is in order. So Z, what you got, and where can the people find you?
Folks, Monday, Hex Conference, Wednesday, Watch Party, Friday, Book Club, and next Sunday, we're going to be back at our usual time, 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here for another Sunday edition of the Degen Roundtable. We're going to be talking about the news and everything going on. We do have to put together our Q1 thesis at some point. That might be a good time to do it. We'll see. Outside of that, though, folks, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at ZenithDI. And if you don't mind, I would appreciate support as I'm helping launch one more crypto show. It's designed to be interesting to Hexkins, but understandable by your grandma. That's over at Walk the Block. You can find it on Twitter at WalkTheBlockNDF. That is the @ but that is what we got going on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in tonight. We know that time is your most valuable asset, and we want to thank you for it every time you spend it here with us. This has been a fantastic show. We will see you guys at the Hex Conference. Go support everybody you love over there, or just the Hexian community in general. And until we see you all next time, I hope that everyone continues to degen responsibly.